What's up everyone, Steven here from Techmaker Studio. This is building a decentralized Twitter clone with React.js and Aleph.im part 17. In the last episode, we just started setting up our own custom data model. And in this episode, we're going to take that a little bit further so that we can click on a post and get a URL that goes to like /posts or something like that, and then have the actual item hash so that we can have essentially a standalone page for each post. And we need to come up with our own name that's probably not post. Like post is a fine name, but it's very confusing in the Aleph ecosystem because they have their own posts, and so we don't want to have like posts and so on and so forth. So we got to come up with something slightly different, but we'll get to that later. In this episode, what we want to do is actually go ahead and hook up this routing and hook up some basic queries. So what I want to do is install the React router. And to do that, we're going to say npm install react router DOM. And basically this is going to hook us up with some libraries, or a library that allows us to do like component-based navigation that feels sort of native in React. It's not actually native in React. But to get going with this, what I want to do first, let me just kind of scan what we have set up in app. App is actually where we're going to start with this. So the React Router DOM library has some pretty nice docs, so I'm not going to go through every single thing step by step, but I think it's pretty intuitive once we get going with it. The very first thing I want to do though is do kind of a sanity check here. And basically what we need to do is import, and then we're going to pull in browser router as router. And I'm going to kick this on its own line here so that we can bring in some more stuff nicely. And in addition to that, we're going to want switch and route, and that may be all for now. I don't want to bring in stuff I don't need yet, so we're just going to start with this. So the way this works, and if let's see, hopefully we did our layout wisely. So we have our nav bar and our account button, and this is basically the top and the bottom items here. So this, I didn't think this 100% through before doing all of it. So I think what we can do is just have this post be inside of a switch. So you'll see what I'm saying in just a second. Okay, so this is going to be kind of a weird cut that I don't normally do, but I just ran into a ton of problems because I did not realize that I was using the newest version of React Router DOM, which I'm not used to. So instead of actually sitting here and trying to work out all the differences between what I would normally do, I'm going to uninstall React Router DOM, and I'm going to come back over here and grab this specific version. So install this, and then all the things I wanted to do should work, because I for whatever reason I'm used to version 5 and it switched me to version 6. Okay, cool. So just to remind us kind of where we are, I don't know exactly where I cut the video. I kind of backed up a little bit. So basically all I've done so far is import this browser router as router, switch, and route. And then down here, what I want to do, and again, I apologize if I repeat myself about anything because I don't remember everything that I said, but we'll just kind of pick it up from here. So we're going to start with a switch component, which is sort of like just a toggle. It's just kind of defining like, okay, we're going to place routes inside of here. And these routes are essentially saying like, hey, whenever the path in the URL, so everything from the slash onwards, matches something, do something. So here's what I mean. So we'll say like path equals slash, and then we'll move our posts up in there. Now we'll have to do more in just a second, but before we do anything, let's go ahead and get that aligned correctly, save everything, and then npm start. And what we want to see is no errors, hopefully. I just went through a lot of red screens that I deleted out of the video because that sucks. Okay, you should not use a switch outside of a router. Okay, that makes sense. So basically what I need to do is just inside of my app, I'm going to define the app as a router. And we'll move this just to the end, right before our div. We could co-locate that closer to the actual routing and stuff, but I think this is gonna be okay. Let's save that and go see what happens. Okay, cool. So now it's working again. Okay, so the architecture here basically is at the top level, and again, this is all just convention stuff in this library. We can talk about the naming that they use, like router, switch, and route, which is different in the new version I just found out. But basically you start up with a router, and then you have a switch, and then all of your routes should go inside of the switch. I think the useful thing about having the router out here is we're sort of defining this as a routing application. And then inside of our nav bar and our account button and stuff, we'll be able to use routes. So anyway, let's start by seeing what we can do with the actual routes themselves. And also, I misspoke when I said we would use routes in here. What we will use is the link component, which is like replacement for an A tag. Essentially, if you use an A tag, the routes will still work down here. But it'll reload the page, so it sort of like makes it like a single page friendly navigation system. Okay, all of that explanation out of the way, we know that this route works. The thing is though, if we come up in here and we do slash and we put a bunch of stuff, it's still gonna load this page, and the reason for that is because it's matching just sort of broadly anything that matches this slash. So what we can do is say exact here, in which case now we shouldn't get anything rendering. So what I want to do is create a new route, and it will be route, and then we'll say path equals, and then we could do something like slash colon ID, which makes it basically flexible. So anything after the slash becomes the ID. So we'll take a deeper look at that in just a second, but we can put like testing here to see. And so now you see we've got testing printing out. So our very basic routing system is working. So if we go to just slash here, we get our posts, and if we go to literally anything else afterwards, we get testing. Okay, so what we want to do is actually hook this up so that we get a post component being rendered out here, and we want this to be slash. We're gonna have to think of a better name than posts, which is what I was saying earlier. But I want this to basically say post item hash like this. And then in here, we're also probably going to have to go away from this simple naming. I'm going to have to think on this a little bit. But for now, let's create a new file. And I'm just going to call this show post.js. What's in the post anyway? Should display content. What's this? Content is not equal to that. Okay. You know what? We could actually, let's do this. Delete, move to trash. We could, now this, I don't think we're going to stick with this because of some design limitations that this is going to have. But for now, we can, in fact, just do post. But what does post need? It needs the PFP, props, post. You know what? It's going to be too hard. It's going to be too hard to do this like this. I'm going to go back to my show post thing. I thought I could just reuse the design of it, and we may. But as you'll see, there's queries and stuff. It's too complicated. Let's just kind of go like this. So that would have been premature optimization, which would probably come back to bite us later. Okay, so show post, and I'm actually going to copy post here. And then we're just going to start cutting some stuff. So we don't actually have any of, let's comment all this out. And then here, or anywhere where we have like this, let's just comment this out. And then this address, I'm just going to put like kind of a 0x0 whatever. And then we can say like, this is all going to be hard coded for now. Okay, cool. The PFP thing, actually, let's keep that because that's hard coded above anyway. Okay, so we're showing post. We don't have any should display content. So we won't need that because by default, nothing will show up that you can click on if there's blank content in the regular post list. So I think basically we should be pretty close to good here. I'm just kind of creating a little template that we're going to fill out in a second. This needs to be show post, and then this needs to be show post. Okay, back in app, let's import show post like so. And then what we're going to do is down here, we're just going to do show post. All right, so let's go back and look at what we got here. Nothing. Maybe is there something I did not save? Oh. This path does not exist. So we need to go to post and then whatever. Okay, cool. So now we have our little boilerplate thing here. Got myself tricked there for a second. So what we want to do is actually hook this up so that we can click on a post somewhere and actually go to a page with a real item hash. Okay, so to do that, what we're going to do in our, what does this look like in posts? So what we want to do is actually have post inside of here. We're going to want to wrap this whole div in a link. And to do that, what we're going to do is import link from React router DOM, and I want to basically come in here and say link to, and this is going to be, let's see, how can we do this? So we need to do slash post slash, and then we want to get the item hash. What's the item hash? Item content. I don't remember exactly what that is. I think it might be item content dot item hash like this. Okay, and then we'll close that off, and then we're going to take this whole div and move that up inside. Now this may or may not mess up our styling. I bet it does. Okay, so if we hover over this, you can, well, it pretty much looks okay, except for we have underlines on all the text, which we're going to fix. If I click it, it's doing, well, it did something. It's going to post/undefined because that attribute isn't there. So what I want to do, props.post.item content. Maybe this is, let's try a couple of things here because I don't remember exactly, but I think I can get it quick. Props.post.item hash. Let's hover over this. Okay, so now if you look down in the very bottom left or up in the URL, now we actually have our item hash coming in. So if we go back over to the code, what we should be able to do now is, instead of just grabbing link, we can also do use params, which you can see it's prompting me for here. And then what I want to do is say inside of my, well, just somewhere in here, we'll say const, and then we'll do item hash equals use params. And then just somewhere, let's see. Actually, you know what? I don't want this here. I want this in my show post, which means I also don't want, let me copy this just so it's easier. So in show post, we'll go ahead and import this, and I don't need the link, at least not yet. We may need it in a little bit, but we don't need it yet. And then for now, let's just put the testing from item hash. Let's see if this is working. Okay, so now you can see that we've got the actual variable, the item hash here, coming in from the params, which is cool. So what this means is we actually have the ability now to query something. So if we look over at, so we're going to need use effect here, use effect, and what we're going to do is say something like use effect, and I'm just kind of thinking this through. Let's look over at our post really quick to see what we did here. So basically we're calling out to post, get post, Techmaker post. So we have use effect, load post. Okay, so what I'm going to do is say load post, just one post. And then I'm going to define a function here. Load post equals async. And then what we'll do is, just trying to remind myself, so set loaded post. Okay, I'm going to copy this. And then instead of set loaded post, we'll just say set post, which we don't have, obviously. And all we need to do is say const post set post equals use state. And I think what we need to do here is actually just take the first one. And we also need to query based on the hash. So let's come over here to aleph.im and look at the dev documentation, posts, get posts. Okay, so the option is, I always get confused because hashes and item hashes, like part of me, because it's called item hash, would expect this option to be item hashes, but that's fine. So it takes an array of hashes. Okay, so what we're going to do is say hashes, and then we're going to pass in item hash, I think the params should be immediately available, so I don't think we have to wait for any reason on that. Like, we don't need to check if it's available or not. I think it's just there. So we're querying Techmaker posts, yada, yada, yada. Let's console.log out what this is. Console.log. And then response post 0. Save that. Post is not defined. That's because I did not import that from Aleph over here. Okay, let's pop back over here and check out what got logged out. So we have an object with all of our data. Perfect. So we can go ahead and put our content body, so our post.content.body and the post address, into our code here. So I don't think we're going to need all of this or any of this really. Well, we will want this time posted function, so come back to that. Const time posted, set time posted, props.time sense. Okay, so I'm just kind of like looking at what I need to do here. So there will probably be some cleanup that we need to do in the next episode. Props.time sense, item content. So this item content, I think we can just do post.content like this. And then down here, what do we have in post? That's basically what we want to switch back to. In actual fact, we can copy all of this again and just replace it here, I think. And we will need to fix some of this stuff. So PFP is fine. So this should be post.address time posted use state post content. So that's not going to work. This isn't going to work because we're not passing the data in the same way. So what we want to do is say const time posted equals a function that takes a post, and then we'll return props.timesense and then post.content. And so we'll get rid of all of that, and then we'll just say time posted. Hopefully this works. That would be frustrating if not. We'll come back to that. Sorry, that was probably super loud. Let's do, what do we need? So now we need post.content.body. Let's see if that broke. Cannot read properties, undefined reading content. So I deleted that. Undefined reading address. So probably this is why I kind of refactored all this stuff. So we have like const address set address equals use state, and then we could have like const content set content equals use state, like that. And then here, if we just make this address and content, now those, so they won't work because we haven't actually set them yet. And then we could just make this time posted and then do the same deal So time posted, set time posted. Okay, so now the screen should load. In theory, the identifier time posted has already been declared. Let's comment this out. Okay, perfect. Now what we need to do is in here, we actually don't need to set post for any real reason. Not yet, so we'll go ahead and take that away just to not have random code we don't need hanging out. So I'll just say const post equals and then grab this. And we won't log it out because we also don't need to do that. And then what we'll do is say set address, and we'll say post.address, set content, and that's going to be post.content.body, and then we'll do set time posted, and that is going to be props, timestamps, new date, post content, time, yada yada yada. So we'll see how that goes. And that's all fine, except for this not a number thing isn't great. Props time sense. Let's do this. Let's say console.log new date. Let's just get this to start. Invalid date, post content.time. Let's just log that out. Undefined. So what does post.content got in it? Okay, so maybe post.time. I have like a nested thing here or something. That's what it is. All right, so let's go all the way back out there, get rid of that, and just make this post.time. Okay, cool. So the only thing I need to do is truncate this. Do I have a truncate function somewhere? I'm pretty sure I do. Truncate address. Yeah, so we're passing that in here. So we'll do the same kind of style down here. And then set address is going to be props.truncate address. What I think I'm going to do is refactor all this stuff into like a utilities class or just a component or something like that. So we have some UX things that are going to need to be taken care of. I think this probably won't work here. I'm actually not sure. I think what we should do, so what have we accomplished? So basically we've got we need to fix the styling, but we'll do that later. We've got our post. You can click on a post and it pulls back the post that you want. In theory, that's kind of weird. Where do I click? So there's something wrong with that. So I can click there. This top one won't let me click. That's peculiar. So we have there's probably like a CSS thing here. Let's check on what is going on. Just really briefly. Container, row, post, div. Okay. I'm going to have to spend some time and play around with the CSS here to see what's going wrong. We clearly have our two different links here. If I click on that there, it pulls up testing Techmaker post 2. So it does what we want, but we have some fixes to make on the layout. Once we're on one, I think probably post something should go away and become like a back button or something to that effect, which may be difficult considering well, I don't know. Actually, we might be able to do that since we defined our router where we did. Sorry, I'm kind of just thinking through this. I know this may seem kind of rambling, but I think it might be useful to some people. What I think I'm going to do, so we can define these switches anywhere we want. So inside of the nav bar, for example, we can define a new switch and basically match this. And when the path is this, you have make a post button. But when the path is something else, we could have like a default like back, which just goes to like the home page or something. As long as we have this sort of like single layer architecture where it's basically you're on the home page or you're viewing a post or you're viewing your account, probably back is always a safe play. So in any case, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. I think we're going to need to have the next episode fixing some of this styling stuff and why can't I click on this link, like this sort of stuff. We'll deal with the back button and so on. And I'm also going to refactor how we're pulling in the data a little bit. It's all pretty straightforward right now. There's nothing wildly complicated. But I like to keep things kind of neat as I go, and I can tell this is going to get messy. So anyway, I'm going to drop this here, and I will talk to you in the next episode.